Hey everyone, welcome to my video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I transformed our master bedroom for under $100 over the weekend. Say hi to Tucker, everyone, our 1-year-old mutt we got last year. My wife and I have been on a year-long journey to completely pay off all of our consumer debt, but it feels like the days drag on and the years are short. So in order to give ourselves some instant gratification, we decided to revamp our 10-year-old bedroom set instead of buying a complete new one. It's crazy how much different it looks going from the darker espresso color to a white color. I just started off with our nightstands and our dresser and began by taking off all the hardware and roughed up the surfaces as much as I could with this Ryobi sander with some 60 grit sandpaper. After everything was roughed up, I cleaned the surfaces off with some mineral spirits to get it ready for the painting in hopes that the paint would adhere to it. And again, each piece of furniture, the 2 nightstands and the 6-drawer dresser, I sanded down everything that I could. I found it a little easier to get to the underside by having the nightstand upside down at first. Again, just taking off the hardware and then getting that sander into everything as best I could, as evenly as I could, to rough up the surfaces in hopes to help the paint adhere to the surfaces a little better. This is just showing you the bottle of mineral spirits I got at the paint thinner aisle at the Home Depot. And then I was using this Glidden flat white interior paint and primer. My original plan was to use my Graco airless paint sprayer I used to paint our kitchen cabinets at our last house. I believe it holds about a quart of paint. It has the plastic cup you pour the paint into, then you put that into the holder, screw the lid on, and squeeze the cup until all the air comes out through that bleeder valve on top once it's secured into the paint gun. I'd forgotten what I did with my stir sticks, so I just commandeered our camping marshmallow roaster poker stick thing here. So anything will work. I've even used our plastic shirt hangers extra from the closet. Once on this particular model, once you're ready to paint, you put the cup in and you screw it into the gun. You'll squeeze that cup again to get all the air out of the bleeder valve, but be careful not to squeeze as hard as I did because the cup actually came out from the top and paint got everywhere. I flipped the switch to prime, got the gun ready to go, and flipped it back to spray, and I was off to the races. So I'm spraying the paint straight away onto the nightstands. I'm doing this outdoors on the side of our house, but I would recommend some respiratory protection if you're going to be doing this in a confined space or limited airflow area, like inside your garage without the doors open. The sprayer was malfunctioning quite a bit. I don't know if it's in an old age. It actually was shooting a lot of like straight blots and not a fine mist like you want. I should have run some water through it first to get it going. So that's my mistake. The other mistake was using the paint straight away and not using an actual primer product. The paint and primer, I'm not sure. I'm not a professional, so I'm not sure which one's better than the others. But basically, this is going to come back to bite me, and you'll see in a little bit. So I said before, when I went to do a finish sanding, like a 240 grit sandpaper, all the paint just started immediately peeling off after a few hours of letting it dry. So in my stubbornness and maybe in some heat exhaustion, because it's only 106 outside in Texas right now as we're in a record heat wave, I decided to put on another layer with the spray gun. At this time, I noticed a hot electrical smell coming from the spray gun, and usually it would work. It would suck almost all the paint out of that cup before it needed to be refilled. On this occasion, So after many hours of shaking my fist at the world and kicking myself, as you can tell, the paint was not sticking well at all. So my wife was out and about running errands in town, so I asked her to pick up another gallon of paint and primer. It's the Glidden brand, but it was a little more expensive. And then I got some actual Kilz Primer, and that worked way better. After cooling off for a few hours, my paint gun decided to start working again. So I went over it with one coat of Kilz, sanded it down real good, of course, tried to get off all the loose chunks of the paint I'd already applied first, and then went over it with the Kilz pretty thoroughly, heavily with the sprayer, and it worked a lot better. Once I primed the Kilz on our nightstands, I was able to move on to my wife's dresser. And this definitely went a lot smoother since I learned my lesson, hopefully from the first time, and applied this Kilz first. I used a little paint scraper there just to crack all the drawers open so I didn't paint them shut or they'd stick. This ended up not really being an issue because I'm assuming I never got any paint on the inside of the drawers. So if you might not can tell, it's the next day. This is Sunday. This is a weekend project. I was trying to get everything back into the bedroom by the end of the weekend. I've got my all-white painter's wardrobe on, and yes, my feet were very white, and I had a lot of fun cleaning off the paint off of them. Definitely don't recommend what I'm wearing, but do as you please. I got a little lazy as well. I just wiped everything down with the mineral spirits this time. I didn't do any sanding, but I would recommend it as it probably makes for a better and longer lasting paint finish. Tucker was very curious about my doings of all weekend and was right there by my side every step of the way and only got a little bit of paint on his ear. Not too bad. The Kilz went on pretty good this time. I used the sprayer. Again, I had a little more. I was able to get a little closer with less wind, and I moved everything to the garage. Since we're under a record heat wave in Texas, this was definitely necessary for me to be able to keep doing this. I went over the bed frame all in one piece, and everything turned out pretty good. I gave it one coat of Kilz and then let it dry. Once I had a good coating of Kilz on our bed frame, I moved on to our last piece of furniture, our stand-up dresser for our bedroom. Again, the sprayer was only about half full, which in the past was more than enough, but in this time I had to fill it up to keep the prime going in the paint gun. Once I refilled it and came back, the paint gun had overheated for the 5th time, so I had to get out and do the rest by hand for the Kilz with Mr. Roller and Mr. Brush. The paint sprayer has been abused by me for many years, so I'm not sure if it's a defective product or not. I definitely would still recommend it if you can afford one. It makes the finish really smooth and it makes the job a lot quicker and a lot easier. Although I'm a little paint happy, so you got to be careful and make sure that you have enough paint or not to overspray, as I tend to do. And by this point, in a rush against the clock, the sprayer was cooled down again and working. So I took advantage and I sprayed quickly and efficiently as I could with the flat white paint. My son just got done through mopping, so he came by to chat with me. Everybody was working hard this weekend. The paint and the coating turned out really good on the bed frame. The sprayer was starting to smell like it was going to overheat again, and then it got clogged. So the spray nozzle, you can actually turn around and it shoots like a straight stream, and that's to get out any clogs. Once I had it unclogged, it was working like a champ, and the finish looked good. I tried to push my luck with the sprayer going. I could smell it starting to heat up and burn again. And I got about 75% of the stand-up dresser with the paint, and it looked really good. But once again, that's why I had some backups on hand. Luckily, I didn't plan on this. I just happened to have a brush and a roller available. But I had to finish up with the brush. Once all the pieces of furniture were dried, I did a little spray can of clear coat on all the pieces and let it dry for a few more hours. And the end transformation, it turned out really good. It really brightened up the room. Even my nightstands, as bad as they were, and that's typically how my projects go, the first thing I start on looks the worst. It really brightened up the room, and it looked like we had a totally different furniture set, even though this is one we've had for over a decade. I put our rubbed bronze hardware back on and painted our mirror as well. And yeah, everything looks pretty good, and my wife was really happy about it, which I guess is all that matters, right guys? Anyway, if you found this helpful, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.